Vogue design, you really got to kind of unpack what we're talking about. And for me, it's the zeitgeist. It's kind of a German derivative word, Zeit meaning time and Geist meaning the spirit. So it's really the spirit of the time. So you've got to look at those kind of designs, at whether they capture that social relevance. And if you look through history, there's always been design that has impacted some sort of, or mirrored some social movement. So for example, if you look at, in the fashion world, designers like Chanel. Chanel really was trying to create a different wardrobe that was more practical for women. She was sort of moving against a male-dominated design industry, and in so doing, her designs actually started a social revolution which changed a lot of things. So you're always going to see that kind of pattern emerging, and I think in our technological age, you're going to see a very different pattern emerging, but the same kind of sentiment about relevance to social problems or social zeitgeist. I think the key ingredient really in our 21st century world is relevance. We are such a distracted society. We've got so much on our heads. So for something to really resonate with us, it's got to speak about, I think in 21st century, connectivity and convenience. And I think those are the two main buttons that need to be pushed. And those also work on two levels. It's got to be really, really practical for people, and increasingly now it's got to resonate on an emotional level as well. So you have the practicality, it's more convenient, it's quicker, but the other thing that's really important is how it resonates in terms of your values. So an eco movement, the eco footprint, closed design systems, upscaling, all of those kind of things start coming into it. And for me, that is becoming much more the spirit of our times, is a concern or an empathy about our environment and what and how we consume things. Vogue design is going to capture a mood, a moment of a society or a time in history. But I think what we're starting to see now very significantly is in the last 10 years or so, we've been on a very, very fast consumer treadmill. We've been buying a lot of things that are cheaper, more disposable, and I think the pendulum's going to start swinging backwards, and you're starting to see physical evidence around the world in different industries of those design cycles starting to slow down. You'll always have the quick, inexpensive produce being manufactured, but I think increasingly, as people's awareness goes out and people being much more mindful about how they consume, you're definitely going to see those designs slowing down much more, and we are going to reuse a lot more and just start buying things that last a lot more and are more timeless. I think when you add technology into design, and specifically about Vogue design, yes, technology has had a huge impact. If you combine our access to information via the internet, the way in which you communicate with each other via social media, and just technological advances of the way in which to produce things, you're starting to see a very different landscape happening. And what the most significant change for me really is democratic design. So we've moved from an era of a designer with one opinion, designing something for a consumer market or what they think a consumer market is, to almost a reversal of those roles of a group or a community doing democratic design and putting their own input into it. And what you're starting to see with that change or shift of balance is really the cutting out of the middleman. And increasingly, in terms of design cycles, you're going to see a much more direct collaboration between design and end user, and cutting out a lot of those middle steps. I think Vogue design's increasingly going to be a democratic process. You'll always have the need for a designer who has a vision to do things. But as we move into a much more collaborative world or business world in terms of co-op mentality, you're starting to already see those new business models come out. So crowdsourcing has become from a novelty aspect of how to do things to becoming quite a mainstream way of running businesses or sourcing design and ideas. And I think you're going to start seeing that collaborative effort come closer and closer and closer. And what's going to happen is the elimination of the middleman in many, many industries or in many design processes. And it's going to become a much more direct conversation between the design or the designer and the end user. And sometimes the end user is also the designer.